Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. Today, we're going to be tackling a question that I think has plagued humankind for as long as we've, looked up at the stars. And that is the question of, are we alone
Oh, yeah.
out there in the universe? And to help us sort of wade through all of the information and all of the various theories and possibilities, we're going to be looking at a few sources today.
Uh-huh.
The first is a live science article that kind of throws out like a dozen different ideas as to why maybe we haven't encountered any aliens yet. And then there's also this Newsweek article that I found that is about a futurist who uses this program
Yeah.
that scans the internet, and it tries to predict future events based on what people are talking about online. And this particular futurist has predicted an alien war starting today, December 3rd. And then finally, we're also going to be looking at a YouTube video that goes into this idea called panspermia, which is the idea that maybe life on Earth actually originated somewhere else
Yeah.
and was brought here. So yeah, we're going to dive into all of that today and see if we can't kind of come to some conclusions
Mm.
about where everybody is.
Yeah. I think that Fermi paradox really encapsulates this so well. Like when you think about just how many stars there are and how many planets are likely orbiting those stars, you would think statistically that the odds of us being the only planet with life are just astronomically
Wow.
small, pun intended.
Right.
But yet, here we are, still no confirmed alien neighbors, no messages, no, any real sign that anyone else is out there.
Yeah, it's like we set up this big party, invited the entire galaxy, and nobody showed up. It's kind of a bummer.
A little bit, yeah.
So this live science article, like I said, it kind of throws out a dozen different theories
Yeah.
about why we haven't made contact with aliens yet. And some of them are a lot more out there than others. Where were some of the ones that you found particularly interesting as you were reading through this?
Yeah. Well, the one that jumped out to me right away was this idea that maybe we're looking in the wrong universe entirely. So, like, the amount of dark energy in our universe, which we still don't really understand that well, might not be ideal for forming a lot of stars and planets. So, what if there are other universes out there with different amounts of dark energy that are just like teeming with life?
So we're like in the quiet cul-de-sac of the cosmos,
Mm,
and the real party's happening a few universes down.
exactly. It's a pretty wild thought,
Yeah.
but it really highlights just how much we still don't know about, even our own universe, let alone all the other ones that might be out there. But sticking with our own universe for a second, this article also brings up this idea that maybe aliens aren't bound to planets at all. What if they've evolved to live in these giant free-floating structures, harvesting energy directly from stars?
So instead of looking for planets, we should be looking for like, I don't know, giant space jellyfish.
Yeah, or biodomes,
Or how would we even know what to look for
Yeah.
if they're just kind of out there floating in the void?
It challenges our whole idea of what it means to be habitable, what it means to be alive even.
And then there's this point that this article makes about how maybe we're just not seeing the evidence
Mm.
that's right in front of us
Mm.
because we have all these preconceived notions about what alien life should look like.
Mm.
And they mentioned this study where they showed people pictures of planets and asked them to point out any signs of alien structures. But in some of the pictures, they hit a guy in a gorilla suit.
Oh, wow.
And most people totally missed it because they were so focused on finding what they thought they should be finding.
That is fascinating.
It's kind of like a real-world version of that whole can't see the forest for the trees thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really highlights how our own biases can shape our perceptions, even in scientific exploration.
Like we assume that if there are aliens out there, they're going to be kind of similar to us in
Yeah.
terms of their biology and their technology. But what if they're so different that we don't even recognize them as life?
It's a good point.
Or what if they're hiding? The article talks about the possibility of entire alien civilizations flourishing in these hidden oceans beneath the icy surfaces of moons like Europa or Enceladus. And if that's the case, we'd have no idea they were even there unless we went looking for them specifically.
Yeah, that's fascinating to think about. Like, what kind of life could exist in those dark alien environments?
Right. And it makes you wonder if maybe we're going about this whole search the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like instead of beaming signals out into space and hoping someone hears us, maybe we should be focusing more on exploring our own solar system,
Yeah, there could be a whole universe of possibilities right here in our own backyard.
so to speak. Now, for a theory that's a little less, wow, cool, and a lot more, uh-oh, this article suggests that maybe our own drive for expansion and resource consumption is what's preventing us from meeting other intelligent life. The idea being that any civilization that's advanced enough to travel between stars might also be on this unsustainable path of growth and basically become a cosmic bulldozer that wipes out any less advanced life it encounters.
It's a sobering thought, isn't it?
It is.
Like the very qualities that allow a civilization to reach the stars could also be their downfall.
Yeah, so are we the cosmic ants about to get stepped on? Or even worse, are we the ones doing the stepping?
It's not a happy thought, but it does make you think about the long-term sustainability of civilization and whether it's even possible for a species to reach a certain level of advancement without also becoming a threat to itself and others.
Okay, let's lighten the mood a bit with another theory from this article. What if aliens are trapped on super Earths? So these are planets with much stronger gravity than Earth, and they just can't launch rockets into space.
I can barely handle Earth gravity sometimes.
I know, right?
Can you imagine trying to get off a planet with 10 times Earth's gravity?
No, I mean, it's almost comical to think about.
Right. Like, how would life even evolve in that kind of environment? Their bones and muscles would have to be incredibly dense and strong. Or maybe they've evolved entirely different ways of moving around.
I'm picturing like these super dense little creatures crawling around.
Right. And then what would their technology look like? Would they even be able to develop something like rocketry? Or would they just be stuck there forever?
And speaking of technology, the article also suggests that maybe the aliens we're looking for aren't biological at all, but rather super intelligent robots.
Oh.
That's a concept that's been gaining a lot of traction lately, especially as our own AI is getting more and more advanced.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if that's the natural progression of intelligent life, to eventually create artificial intelligence that can handle the rigors of space exploration far better than we can.
And it makes you wonder if we're even looking for the right signs of life. Like, what if those radio signals we're searching for aren't being sent by little green men, but by sophisticated AI systems that we wouldn't even recognize as intelligent?
I mean, that would make sense, right? If they're so advanced, they're probably way past using radio waves.
All right, are you ready for the grand finale of weird theories from this article?
Hit me with it.
What if we're the aliens?
Yes. The panspermia hypothesis.
The idea that life on Earth didn't actually originate here, but was brought here on meteorites from somewhere else in the universe.
We're going to delve into that more with the YouTube video in a bit.
Yeah.
But it's a fascinating concept to think about.
And it kind of ties into another point this article makes about how dark energy, that mysterious force that's pushing the universe apart, might eventually isolate galaxies from each other.
So it's like we're racing against the clock to find other life forms before they become completely unreachable.
Okay, before we spiral into an existential crisis about the impending cosmic loneliness of the universe, let's talk about this prediction from this futurist, Cliff High, we found in Newsweek.
Oh yeah, the alien war starting today.
Yes, Alien War starting today, December 3rd. Does that sound plausible to you?
I don't know. I mean, it sounds a bit like a science fiction movie plot.
Right. It does.
But I guess anything's possible. This guy, Cliff High, he uses this program called WebBot that analyzes internet chatter to predict future events.
And has he been right before?
Yeah, apparently he's made some accurate predictions in the past, like the 2003 Northeast blackout and the 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake. But a lot of people view his methods as pseudoscientific and too vague to be taken seriously.
But still, it's kind of fun to think about, right? Like,
Yeah.
what if we look up tonight and see spaceships duking it out above our heads?
I'd much rather speculate about space jellyfish and hidden oceans.
Fair enough, fair enough.
I mean, speaking of unexplained phenomena, there was that recent Pentagon report on UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, which acknowledged that there were a lot of incidents they couldn't explain. But they stopped short of saying they were evidence of extraterrestrial activity.
So, still a lot of mystery out there.
A lot of possibilities,
A lot of possibilities.
but no concrete proof just yet.
Well, that's what makes it so intriguing, right?
Absolutely. The search for alien life is all about exploring the unknown, trying to understand our place in this vast universe.
And I think it's time now to dive a little deeper into this idea of panspermia and explore this possibility that life on Earth might have come from somewhere else entirely.
Sounds good to me. Let's do it. So panspermia, huh? It's kind of wild to think about, isn't it? Like all life on Earth, just hitchhiking on a meteor. What were your first impressions when you saw this theory?
I gotta admit, it did sound a little bit like science fiction at first. But then watching that YouTube video, I mean, they do make some pretty interesting points, especially when you start looking at the evidence.
Oh, yeah. What kind of evidence are we talking
Oh,
about?
for example, they talk a lot about extremophiles. which, if you're not familiar, those are the organisms that live in those, like, really extreme environments,
Mhm.
like super hot volcanic vents, or like those
Oh.
incredibly acidic pools, stuff like that. And the fact that life could exist in those places, well, they argue that suggests that maybe life could have originated in a similarly hostile environment.
Like space.
Exactly. And that it could have survived a journey through space,
Yeah.
on a meteor or something.
That makes sense. And then there's also that stuff about those zircon crystals they found, right?
Oh, yeah, those super old ones.
Yeah, like over 4 billion years old, from back when the Earth was still pretty much uninhabitable. And they seem to have fossilized life in them.
Life in 4 billion-year-old rocks. That's crazy.
I know, right? It's wild. If life emerged that quickly after the Earth formed, well, it makes you wonder if maybe it did come from somewhere else.
Yeah, and then the video also mentions that they've found organic molecules on comets, including like glycine, which is an amino acid.
Which are basically the building blocks of life, right?
Exactly. So it's almost like the universe is raining down the ingredients for life.
That's a pretty cool way to think about it.
So how does the Cambrian explosion fit into all this?
So that's the period about 540 million years ago, when life on Earth suddenly just like exploded, went from single-celled organisms to all these complex multicellular creatures.
One of the most pivotal moments in the history of life on Earth.
Exactly. And in this video, they kind of float this idea. And this is where it gets a little bit speculative, that maybe this Cambrian explosion was triggered by the arrival of alien eggs, carried on meteorites.
Alien eggs.
Alien eggs.
That's a new one.
Yeah, it's a little out there, I know.
But hey, keep an open mind, right?
That's what we're all about here on the deep dive.
So why are octopuses the poster children for directed panspermia?
Oh, yeah. The video definitely spends a lot of time on those guys. Well, they have some pretty remarkable features, right? 3 hearts, a color-changing body, incredible intelligence, and their genome is like super complex. To some people, it almost looks alien.
They do seem a little out of place here on Earth. But is there any real evidence to suggest that they actually came from somewhere else?
Well, as much as I love a good conspiracy theory, the current scientific consensus is that octopuses did evolve here on Earth. It's just that their evolutionary path was a little more, shall we say, unconventional.
Unconventional is a good word for it.
But the whole panspermia theory, even if octopuses aren't the best example, it does raise some really interesting questions about the resilience of life and the possibility that it could travel between planets.
Yeah, I mean, we know that meteorites from Mars have landed on Earth, so it's not crazy to think that they could have carried some microbial hitchhikers.
Exactly. And if that's the case, who knows how far life could potentially spread?
Right. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
It is. And it really makes you think about our place in the universe. If life did arrive on Earth from somewhere else, what does that say about us?
Does it make us less special, knowing we might be descended from space microbes? Or does it make the universe even more incredible, knowing that life could be scattered throughout the cosmos?
Those are great questions. And honestly, I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer.
I think it's probably a bit of both.
Yeah.
But it definitely adds a whole new layer of complexity to the search for extraterrestrial life.
For sure. And it brings us back to that point I made earlier about the implications of panspermia for the likelihood of finding other intelligent life.
Right. So if life did hitch a ride to Earth on a meteor, does that make it more or less likely that we'll find other intelligent beings out there?
What do you think?
Honestly, I go back and forth. On the one hand, it seems like if those microbes made it all the way here, maybe that means life is pretty common and could exist on other planets too.
That's a fair point.
Then again, if it had to travel all that way through space, face all those hazards, find the right planet to land on, maybe that means the odds are actually stacked against it.
True. It's like winning the lottery twice.
Yeah, once for life to emerge in the first place, and then again for it to actually survive and thrive on a new planet.
And even if we assume that life is common, intelligent life is a whole other question.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, look how long it took for intelligent life to evolve here on Earth.
Billions of years.
Right, and it was a very specific set of circumstances that led to us.
So maybe intelligence isn't the natural endpoint of evolution. Maybe it's more like a fluke, a cosmic accident.
It's possible. And even if intelligent life does arise on other planets, there's the question of timing.
Right, they could be millions of years ahead of us or behind us.
Exactly. It's like trying to have a conversation with someone standing on the other side of the Grand Canyon. You shout something, and by the time the echo gets back to you, the moment is gone.
That's a great analogy. So even if there are other intelligent civilizations out there, the chances of us actually connecting with them seem pretty slim.
It's a bit discouraging, isn't it?
It is, but hey, at least we're here, right? Having this conversation, trying to figure it all out.
Absolutely. And speaking of figuring things out, I wanted to circle back to that Life Science article for a second.
Oh yeah, what about it?
There were a couple more theories in there that we didn't get to discuss.
Right?
Like, remember that one about how maybe we've already found aliens, but we just don't recognize them because they're so different from what we expect?
Oh yeah, they're already here theory.
It's a classic. And it makes you think, right, what if we're just too focused on looking for something that looks like us?
Yeah.
That we're missing something truly alien?
The article even mentioned that some scientists think they've found evidence of microbial life in meteorites from Mars.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, which, I mean, it's not little green men walking around. But it would still be pretty huge if we could confirm that.
Oh, absolutely. Finding life on another planet, even microbial life, that would be a game changer.
It would totally change our understanding of, well, everything.
Right. And it would give a lot more weight to the panspermia theory.
Exactly. If life exists on Mars, which is relatively close to us, then it's not that hard to imagine it spreading even further.
I mean, who knows? Maybe life on Earth actually originated on Mars.
Or vice versa.
Or maybe they both came from somewhere else entirely.
Now that would be a plot twist.
Right. But even if Mars turns out to be a bust, there are plenty of other places in our solar system that could be harboring life.
Like Europa and Enceladus.
Exactly. Those subsurface oceans are still top contenders. Oh yeah, Titan. That's a fascinating one. Saturn's largest moon, it has this thick atmosphere full of organic molecules. Some scientists believe that the conditions there might be similar to what Earth was like before life emerged here.
So we could be looking at the early stages of life on another world.
It's possible.
It's amazing to think that we might have multiple potential cradles of life right here in our own solar system.
It's incredible, isn't it? And it just shows how much we still have to explore, how much we still have to learn.
Well, on that note, there was one more theory from that article that I wanted to touch on. The idea that maybe aliens are out there, but they're so advanced that they've chosen to stay hidden from us.
Oh yeah, the zoo hypothesis.
Or the prime directive, like in Star Trek.
It's a popular one in science fiction.
It is, and it makes you think, what if they're watching us, waiting for us to reach a certain level of development before they decide to make contact?
Or maybe they're just studying us.
Like we're some kind of cosmic ant farm.
It's a little creepy when you think about it that way.
It is. But it also kind of plays into our fears.
Yeah.
About encountering a more advanced species. Like we automatically assume they're going to be hostile or try to conquer us.
Like in all those alien invasion movies.
Exactly. But what if they're not like that at all? What if they're benevolent? Or even just indifferent?
Like, we're just not that interesting to them.
Now that would be a letdown.
It would be kind of humbling, wouldn't it?
It would.
To realize that we're not the center of the universe.
That we might not even be all that special.
It's like Carl Sagan said, if we are alone in the universe, it would be an awful waste of space.
But maybe the opposite is true too. If the universe is teeming with life, and we're just one tiny, insignificant part of it.
That's equally mind-blowing.
It is. So where does all this leave us? Are we any closer to answering that question? Are we alone?
I don't know. I really don't know. We have all these theories, all this evidence, but still no definitive proof.
It's like a giant puzzle.
It is.
And we're just starting to put the pieces together.
But even if we never find the complete picture, I think the search itself is incredibly valuable.
I agree. It makes us think bigger. Question everything, push the boundaries of what we know.
And who knows, maybe one day we'll find that one piece of evidence that changes everything.
Until then, I guess we just have to keep exploring.
Keep an open mind and keep asking those big questions.
Well, we've really gone down the rabbit hole with all this alien talk today, haven't we?
We have.
I mean, from the mind-boggling size of the universe to the thought that we all might be descended from space microbes, it really is kind of awe-inspiring.
It is. It really makes you appreciate just how much we still don't know.
And for me, it just makes that question of, are we alone, even more pressing? Like a part of me really hopes that someday we'll get that definitive proof that we're not alone.
I get that. I think it's only natural to want to find others out there.
It would just be so incredible to know that we're not the only ones having this conversation.
Yeah, and to think about what we could learn from another intelligent species.
The possibilities are endless.
They really are.
But even if we never find that proof, I think the search itself has been valuable.
Oh, absolutely.
It's made us think bigger, question everything, push the boundaries of our knowledge.
It's like we're on this grand scientific adventure,
Hurrah!
constantly pushing the frontiers of what we know and understand about the universe.
And who knows, maybe someday we'll stumble upon that one piece of evidence that changes everything.
It could happen.
Until then, I think it's important to stay curious, keep an open mind,
I agree.
and never stop asking those big questions.
Well said.
Well, this has been the Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us on this exploration of all things alien.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep looking up.
And keep wondering.